Hello, I'm Jennifer Lawrence with Spirit of Health, and today we're going to talk about making kefir, or some people might say kefir. That's kefir. It feels a little difficult for some people to say. I typically just say kefir. It's a lot easier. Depending on where you live, will probably depend on how you say it. Anyway, we're going to just go ahead and get started. This here is a kefir that has already been sitting out for about 24 hours. And there are some kefir grains inside of this mason jar that we're going to strain out to make our next batch of kefir. So let's go ahead and just take our kefir, and what we're going to do is we're just going to slightly pour it in. What I have is a strainer inside of a bowl so that I can strain through the finished kefir, and what will stay on top is the grains. The holes are a decent size, but not so large that the grains would fall through. I don't know if you can see that there, but it's a pretty nice texture. The difference between kefir and yogurt is mainly that yogurt is strictly bacteria. Kefir is more of a bacteria and yeast combination, and so you're going to get a little bit more of a stronger fermented flavor with this. It's going to be actually a little effervescent. It's a little bubbly, and it's really quite nice once you get used to the flavor of it. Making your own at home doesn't taste anything like the stuff in the store. And the benefit of making your own at home is that you know the quality of milk that you're using, and you can also really be careful about how much sugar you want to add if you want to sweeten it up. And then there's also some other fun things you can do with it besides just consuming it as is, which I'll show you in just a moment. Okay, so couple things that we just want to talk about is, where do you find these little guys? These are kefir grains, and I don't know if you can see it from there, but they look like little balls of miniature cauliflower or something like. They're very interesting looking. I don't know how God managed to create something so unique. It's beyond my comprehension, but I think they're pretty marvelous little guys. So this is your kefir grain. I'm going to put this into my new mason jar here, and it's going to be waiting for me for the next batch here. So just a little comment on where you can find your kefir grains. The best source that I have found is to go to your local farmer and ask them, because most of the time if they're selling milk, raw milk, they're actually probably making lots of kefir. Also, another source that you could go to is your local health food store. Start asking the clerks, asking around. Most people will know someone that's making it, because what happens is every time you make this, these feed off of the sugar in the milk and they start to multiply. And then there gets to a point where you have so many you almost don't know what to do with them. You can eat them, you can feed them to your cat or your dog, feed them to your plants. They're very beneficial to consume. The other option that you could do is go online to Spirit of Health KC and look at the website there and the store, and they will be selling some kefir starter kits as well as yogurt starter kits. And those kefir starter kits will not have the grains per se, but they're going to be in package form. And Body Ecology makes kefir packets, and what you can do is you can use those instead of the kefir grains. They have the same makeup of the bacteria and the yeast. Some places also sell the kefir grains dehydrated, and then when they get to you, that you can rehydrate them. So just get online and start looking, and you'll come across something, or just ask around and you'll find someone that has kefir grains. Okay, so from here I have this beautiful leftover kefir. I'm going to set that on the side for just a moment. And what I'm going to do now is show you how to make your next batch. Now a couple comments on how to decide what your ratio is of grains to milk. The typical ratio is a tablespoon of grains to a cup of milk. That's what I have been told for quite some time. I've been doing this for a little while now, and what I have found is that at the beginning of the week, when I get my milk from my farmer, when my milk is nice and fresh, my grains will be put in the milk, and they can ferment within 12 to 24 hours. And usually the ratio of a tablespoon to a cup of milk is about right. Towards the end of the week, my milk will start to lose some of the sugar content because the natural enzymes and bacteria in the milk will start to consume that, and it will start to naturally ferment on its own in the refrigerator. At that point, towards the end of the week, after 5 to 6 days, I will start actually increasing the ratio. And as you can see, I got quite a bit today because that was the batch from the milk at the end of the week. So I had only a tablespoon in here for almost an entire quart of milk. However, today I have new milk. So what I'm going to do is I'm probably going to go back down a little bit on the ratio, and I'm going to put somewhere between 1 to 2 cups of milk for the amount of grains I have. I probably have a tablespoon and a half, maybe at the most. So I have my raw milk from my farmer, and I'm pouring that into my mason jar. Now, if you don't have access to raw milk, I suggest you find the best quality milk that you can find, and that would be obviously non-homogenized if you can, and organic with grass-fed cows, no hormones, no antibiotics. If it has to be pasteurized because of our laws on milk, then one of the options that you can do is actually take the pasteurized milk and heat it just below the boiling point, just to make sure that you cancel out any kind of pathogenic organisms that might be in the pasteurized milk. Because pasteurization, although it does kill off quite a bit, there is this chance that something could still be in the milk. And so you want to just take precaution and heat that. And then once it's heated, you want to cool it back down to room temperature, because kefir really is mesophilic. It's medium loving. It likes to be around 70 to 75 degrees, and it will ferment on its own perfectly. So I'm going to take this, I have a nice place down in my basement that stays in that range of 70 to 75 degrees, and I'll just keep an eye on it. If I see that it's starting to separate or really look like it's fermented, if it's beyond just the normal set, then I really will go ahead and just pull it and go through this process right away. So just keep an eye on it. Anywhere between 12 to 24 hours, this will be set. And just similarly to if you've watched the yogurt video, one thing you can do is take your mason jar, slightly tip it, and if it moves in a jelly-like consistency, you know you're probably around a good point of consuming it. If you're on the GAPS protocol, I suggest you make sure you wait the 24 hours to make sure all the lactose and the casein have been broken down. Okay, so now that we have our finished product here, I'm going to show you how to make something that I've really been enjoying playing with, is whey, and the byproduct of that is what we call Kefir cheese. And this is Kefir cheese. And how you do this is you take, this is a nut milk bag, and this is my method, and there's multiple ways to do this. You can also take a cheesecloth, which I don't have one right now with me. You could lay a cheesecloth over inside of a decent sized bowl, and then you're going to take your finished product of your kefir, simply pour it into the nut milk bag or over your cheesecloth if you're doing it in the bowl. And from here, all you're going to do is cinch this up nice and tight. I take a wooden spoon and I'll just really kind of start to wrap this around my wooden spoon. I like to get it really on there because otherwise if it's too low, it'll sit into the way that's dripping. I'll take this and I'll wrap it around. There's really no rhyme or reason, just whatever you can do to MacGyver this guy nice and tight. Kind of tuck it through there. Pull it in nice and tight. Ah, you could put a little clip there if you wanted to take a clothespin and hold it, but mine usually stays pretty good. You could also take this and hang it from a knob on your cabinet with a bowl underneath or a mason jar to catch this. What I typically do is this right here, and then I find a place for it in my refrigerator and I just let it sit overnight. In the morning, I have this nice kind of yellow whey, which is fantastic for many things. If you're on the GAPS protocol, then you can add this into your soups as a way of introducing fermented foods. You can also use this to make kvass, which is a fermented drink. You can also use this to ferment vegetables, such as sauerkraut. So it's very versatile, and I actually have come to enjoy the flavor. Then we have here is our Kefir cheese, and it's almost like a cream cheese consistency, but obviously a lot more strong flavor than probably your basic cream cheese that you're used to at the store. One of my favorite things that I have been doing with our fresh herbs from our garden is I've been cutting up chives and parsley and some fresh dill and mixing it into the Kefir cheese here and making sort of a dip out of it. You could add in even some fresh pressed garlic, lemon, and if you make your own mayonnaise, or if your body is okay with something called veganaise, it's made from grapeseed oil, and we usually recommend the soy-free. You can combine the Kefir cheese with the veganaise or your homemade mayonnaise and the herbs and lemon juice, and it's a fantastic dip. Great replacement for people who love ranch dressing and have a hard time avoiding their beloved ranch. A lot of people I know are addicted to ranch. It's quite surprising how something so small can be so addictive. But the Kefir cheese is a fabulous way to get dips to be a lot more healthy and to sneak in a little bit of fermented foods into your diet, especially the young ones that might not know that they're eating fermented foods. So the other thing that I just wanted to mention really quick is when you do make Kefir, you can make it with milk, but you can also make it with cream, and that would give you an even thicker kind of Kefir cream is what it would be called. Just like you would make sour cream with yogurt, you can make Kefir cream with kefir grains. So thank you so much for watching. I hope that you find some time in your day to enjoy making some whey and Kefir cheese. From our kitchen to yours, this is Jennifer with Spirit of Health. Thank you for watching.